Thank you, and good evening. Welcome to the May 25th, 2021 meeting of the Glendale City Council, starting at 6:08 p.m. Due to the evolving situation with the COVID-19 novel coronavirus and health recommendations from the LA County Health Department, the Glendale City Council meeting will be available to the public electronically. We encourage you to watch and participate from the safety of your homes. You can watch the program, the meeting, on Charter Cable Channel 6 and AT&T UVerse Channel 99. It is also streaming online at glendaleca.gov, the public meeting portal. For public comments and questions during the meeting, we encourage you to call 818-937-8100. City staff will be submitting these questions and comments in real time to the appropriate person during the Glendale City Council meeting. And with that, may we have roll call, please?
Councilmember Agajanian.
Present.
Brotman.
Here.
Kasakian.
Here.
Najarian.
Here.
And Mayor Devine.
Here. What's next, please?
Next would be flag salute.
Thank you. Please stand. Place your hand over your heart and join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing for tonight's invocation. Heavenly Father, as we gather this evening, we thank you for the life you have allowed us to lead and the privileges you have provided. Let us not take these advantages for granted, but use our lives and resources according to your will. Be with each of us in our daily lives, that we present ourselves in a manner that is pleasing to you. Amen.
Thank you. And what's next, please?
The agenda for the May 25th, 2021 regular meeting of the Glendale City Council was posted on May 19th, 2021 on the bulletin board outside City Hall.
Thank you. And next item?
Next would be presentations and appointments. 3A would be agenda preview for the meeting of Tuesday, June 1st, 2021. The regular Housing Authority and City Council meeting for June 1st, 2021 has been canceled. The next regular meetings are scheduled for Tuesday, June 8th, 2021.
Thank you. And next?
Next would be consent items, including the minutes. The following are routine and may be acted upon by one motion. Any member of council or the audience requesting separate consideration may do so by making such request before motion is proposed.
I would like to move the consent item.
Thank you. I'd like to pull item 4D. And with that, we'll take the motion for the remainder of the consent calendar.
I'll second the motion.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Agajanian.
Yes.
Brotman.
Yes.
Kasakian.
Yes.
Najarian.
Yes.
And Mayor Devine.
Yes. Thank you. And would you please read into the minutes 4D?
4D, City Attorney regarding establishment of administrative citation fines for enforcement of the ban on sale of flavored tobacco products as recently adopted by the city in GMC 5.94.160. D1 resolution amending the citywide fee schedule and establishing administrative citation fines for enforcement of the ban on sale of flavored tobacco products.
Thank you. The reason I had this item pulled is I took a look at the fines proposed at $100 for the first offense, $200 for the second, and $500 for the third. And I personally don't feel that that's high enough. I think that I think this is a very serious ordinance. I think it calls for a higher fine to really deter businesses from selling these products. And so I would like to hear from my colleagues if they agree. I would like to see perhaps the first fee be, let's say, $200, then $500, and then maybe $800. If you have any other recommendations, I'm open to hear them, but I don't want to make these really draconian, but I do want to make them stiff enough that business owners will think twice before they sell these vaping products to our kids. Do I have any comments from my colleagues?
Madam Mayor, may I make a comment?
I'm sorry,
May I make a comment?
sure.
Sure.
Absolutely.
Thank you. So the proposed fine schedule, was based on our 3 tiers that we have, and typically for the most serious offenses that are, and I shouldn't even say most serious, for those that are most directly pose a life, health, or safety risk, those are usually in the 3rd tier. So this is the 1st tier, the 100, 200, 500. The 2nd tier is 200, 400, and 1,000. And then the 3rd one is 400, 1,000, and 2,000. So it's within the council's discretion. I think I would recommend, if you're not comfortable with the 1st tier, to go to the 2nd tier, which would be that 200, 400, 1,000.
Okay. I would be more receptive to that, to just going to that tier. Do I have any comments from my colleagues? Are you in agreement with this, or? do you
Yes,
think-
Mayor Devine?
Councilmember Brotman?
Yeah, I actually had the same thought, and I brought this up during our briefings. And what I learned is that this is the same tier we're using for the Mylar balloon ban. Mike, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this is the same tier. So I kind of let it go at that, thinking, ultimately, this is just about getting the attention. And if after 3 violations, the retail outlet is still, continuing to sell, or they're treating it as just a cost of doing business, then we would follow up with the city attorney's office and take more aggressive measures, let's say. But I have no problem going up. I just wanted to mention that, the Mylar balloon ban is also at these low levels, and it's kind of the same circumstances. It's a retail, situation, and somebody may say, hey, that's just the cost of doing business.
Yeah, well, I'm looking at the products, but I appreciate your comments. Mr. Agajanian?
I have some concerns. For the first one, I don't have problem with the 2nd and 3rd one. Very often somebody mistakenly does something, so I would like to see at least for the first one, to stay 100. If we want to raise it for the 2nd and 3rd, I do not have problem, but the first one, I want to see a lower figure.
Do we have a policy of warning first?
Mayor Devine, yes. So that's. I apologize. Yes, and like any violation, there's usually a notice of violation that comes from neighborhood services in the event of a violation. That initial citation is not made until there's not compliance with the notice of violation warning. So that is already built into the system.
So, Councilmember Agajanian, that's already built in as, okay?
And yeah, I would know. We do try to keep the tiers. We try to keep the penalties
Sure.
within one of the tiers. Whether council chooses 1 or 2, it's more ideal to have the tiers the same for each violation.
Yeah, I can understand that. Anyone else have a
Madam Mayor.
comment? Would anyone like to make that?
Question.
Mayor,
Yes.
before you move on, I do have a caller on the line for this item.
Oh, okay, let's hear from the
And I have a
caller.
question,
Thank you.
too.
And then Councilman Najarian has a question too, Madam Mayor.
Okay, all right. Thank you. Sorry.
Feruz Ayub, you have 3 minutes. Go ahead. Feruz?
Yes, good afternoon. I am watching you online, so I appreciate the time given for this question. My name is Feiruz Ayub, a business owner of 2000 C-Store in Glendale since 1989. And I'm calling for a question, if possible. I want regarding the sale specifically of menthol cigarettes. And I understand the ordinance took place just last month. Based on the fact that we did not receive a copy of the ordinance by mail or written, second of all, I'm assuming the committee prepared and studied and take the time to do the resolution, to which we did not have knowledge or had the opportunity to attend. We reached out to some members of the city, and we were expressed the fact that the council members did not consider the possibility of extension. The reason is because the city of Glendale is jumping on, getting ahead, I should say, not jumping, getting ahead on the state and federal laws, which is great, and we would like to comply. would you consider granting some businesses extension just so that they can finish the sales? With COVID, there is thousands of dollars in inventory, not that we purchase more, but current inventory. And the sudden news to us business owner will really be detrimental. Would you be considering that at all? Give us maybe an extension to that, to comply and come and fulfill compliance. It's specifically menthol cigarettes. I understand the other tobacco and the e-vape and all the other flavors will be out. And so that is my question, and I would appreciate for the council to at least grant that extension to some businesses in the city of Glendale.
Thank you, thank you. Mr. Garcia, do we have number one, have we sent out the information on this ordinance? And number two, is there some sort of a time where they have a chance to comply? It doesn't take effect on that very day they do. We have given them built in a time to comply, correct?
Madam Mayor, the ordinance, the time to comply was within the time between adoption and when it became effective. So it was adopted on April 27th, and it becomes effective May 27th. So there was no additional time built in to allow the sale, as the council was indicative of the desire to move quickly to implement this change. And with respect to any additional notices, I'm not sure. We did receive a number of calls, so I'm assuming there was some notice that was sent out by Neighborhood Services about the new regulation.
Okay, so they have all been notified. Mr. Lansfame is making his way.
Madam Mayor, we were trying to track down all of the retailers, and we will be sending them a letter, if we haven't already. It will outline the ordinance itself. I know we did do some social media push so that we could get it out there immediately. Believe it was covered in the press as well.
Okay, thank you. All right, let me take Councilmember Najarian. You had a question or a comment? Mute. You're on mute, I think. I think you're on mute.
You're muted, Councilman Najarian.
Councilmember Najarian, can you turn on your mic?
Mute.
Councilmember Najarian, we still can't hear you.
Yes. How
There
about
you go.
now?
Okay, we can hear you.
Who is the citee on these citations? Is it the sales clerk, the manager, the business owner, the corporate entity? Who is actually getting the citation?
It's typically it's anybody who has ownership or control of the premises.
Okay, is that?
But legally, the legal responsible entity would be the owner of the establishment.
Okay, I mean, is that strong enough? The owner says, here's my employee handbook, you shall not sell flavored tobacco, and
No,
here's
that'd
the
be-
signature of the employee.
I think their
Does he
district
still get
liability.
napped for that, even though?
Correct.
He still does, okay.
Okay. How do you feel about Councilmember Najarian and my fellow council members, Kasakian? How do you feel about raising this to a Tier 2 level fine?
I have no objections to that.
Councilmember Kasakian
I
has
have
no
no
objections? Okay. Councilmember Najarian?
So the first offense would be starting at the tier 2.
Which is 200.
200.
200 for the first fine,
200.
400, and then 1,000 for the third fine.
I'm okay with that.
Okay.
Mayor, I do have one more caller.
Okay. Let's hear him.
Lynn Moses, you have 3 minutes. Go ahead, Lynn.
Thank you, sir. I would, very briefly, I would just like to say this ordinance is, I believe, structured to curb the sale of flavored tobaccos to children. I believe that's the whole gist. So in being that the case, I would be in agreement to, as a regular citizen, to increase the fines Most definitely. That's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for calling. Okay, then, we need to then change what the
So, yeah, we could
new
just get a motion
the
to
motion.
amend the resolution with the tier 2 penalties of 200, 400, and 1,000.
Okay, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Second. Okay, roll call.
Councilmember Agajanian,
Yes.
Brotman,
Yes.
Kasakian,
Yes.
Najarian,
Yes.
and Mayor Devine.
Yes, thank you all. Thank you. What's next, please?
Next is city council and staff comments.
Okay. Any council comments?
Madam Mayor?
Yes, Councilmember Kasakian.
So, as many know and have noted around the country today, marks a one-year anniversary since the murder of George Floyd. And it was very encouraging to see a number of community organizations come together. There was a prayer vigil that was organized by the Incarnation Catholic Church, which both you and I attended, as well as the following day, on Sunday, there was a peace march that was organized by a number of community organizations. And it's very encouraging to see groups coming together to speak out against racism, to speak out about unity, about compassion and working together and working through our shared problems. And I would like to see, you know, I know that this council took a number of steps, but it would be great to have a report back from staff to see where we are in terms of the progress we have made with the organization that we voted to work with to help guide us through that. So if there could be an update forthcoming to council, that would be greatly appreciated.
Actually, Madam Mayor, Member City Council, Councilmember Kasakian, if you'd like, Christine Power is available available to provide a report on the initiatives that council has taken, the directions provided to staff, and the work that staff has done to date and the next steps right now.
Well, it's fine, but I don't want to take up any of the time, depending on what kind of presentation it is. I appreciate Ms. Powers being here. I don't know if you were here. I know you're here probably on the legislative update,
Right.
but I think that if we could have maybe a more in-depth presentation, I would
Oh,
appreciate that.
Okay, all right, then we'll ask Ms. Powers to come back another day for that.
In a couple of weeks or so.
Okay, all right.
And then I also had an opportunity to visit the Museum of Neon Art, which will be opening up to the general public soon. Right now, I believe it's only open to members. It's exciting to see our cultural institutions, and just in general, when you walk around downtown, you see a renewed sense. There's a vibe that things are slowly but surely returning to normal. Certainly, obviously, we still have a lot of work to do to make sure that we get our vaccination numbers up, that we move towards a place where hopefully in the fall, as the school district has voted, there will be in-person education, and our businesses will get back up on their feet. But it was great to see that museum starting to take the steps to open, and that was very exciting. And lastly, it was this last weekend was the last official game of the shortened Little League season. And I want to thank our Parks Department for doing a great job of maintaining those fields, as well as the Jewel City Little League and all the parents and everyone who has been volunteering. It was very exciting to see all the kids who are so excited to be out there playing their hearts out, and hopefully we'll have more regular, more better attended games in the future. Thank you.
Okay. Here, if no one else, I'll go ahead. I
yeah.
too want, yeah.
Mayor,
Yeah.
Mr. Devine?
Oh,
I do too.
oh, I'm sorry. Councilmember Brotman, go ahead.
Yeah, I was sorry. I was just waiting. I did want to say something about the 1-year anniversary of the George Floyd killing, and I appreciate Councilmember Kasakian already bringing this up. I know that what happened a year ago certainly wasn't the first and wasn't the last, and there will be more instances of these types of killings. But there was something about this one, obviously, that really stirred all of us. And the video that we all saw, the fact that it was, 9 minutes or over 9 minutes that Derek Chauvin had his knee on George Floyd's neck, even through apparently, almost a whole minute of him going through seizures, and then another almost 4 minutes of him being unresponsive. The fact that it was, just so cold-blooded in plain sight, his colleagues doing nothing to stop him. I think all of this really struck a nerve for all of us. And we wouldn't have known about it except for the video that was taken by this determined and brave teenager named Darnella Frazier. I was glad to see in Glendale how we did respond, and I appreciate that Christine will come back in a couple of weeks and talk about it. But we know that we have a past as a sundown town, and we also have a past involving real estate development practices that were consciously designed to exclude Blacks, Mexicans, Japanese, other minorities. And it's incredible. I've seen the work that Glendale Library Arts and Culture put together, and I want to thank them for that. Going through that is just shocking how brazen it was, how open it was. Similar to Derek Chauvin, I mean, there was no shame that was expressed in some of these practices at the time. The policies were lifted, but we're still seeing the legacy and the ethnic makeup of our city. So I'm proud that we were the first city in Glendale to pass a Sundown Town resolution. Proud to have been a part of that. I want to, thank the Coalition for an Anti-Racist Glendale for really advocating for that, and also Christine Powers and Nicole Pacini from Library Arts and Culture for doing that incredible research last year to put together the report. And then, as I mentioned, Dr. Schaefer and the whole Glendale Library Arts and Culture team for this Be the Change series, which is, if anybody has not had a chance to see what they've done, you really should. It's great work. So that was the easy part. And now, I know we need to follow with things that we did promise to do. We said that we were going to look at ways we can root out structural racism in the city, whether through housing policies, hiring practices, or our policing activities. And hoping that can come back, because it has been now a year. And I think I've gotten questions from the community as to, when that's coming back for some more action. So I'm happy to hear that will be happening soon. So that's number one. I have two other smaller items. One is we all got an email about a mural on Victory Boulevard. It's or a series of murals. Some are permitted, others not, and there's an enforcement action going on. And apparently, that enforcement is being appealed. And I wanted to make a suggestion, if I could get a second from one of my colleagues, that we introduce a moratorium on enforcement against unpermitted murals until we complete our new mural ordinance, which I understand we have a consultant now working on, and it's going to go through the Arts and Culture Commission. And then we're going to be moving that mural approval and review authority to the Arts and Culture Commission. So what I would like to see is we hold off on enforcement, let them come up with their ordinance, and then have them, tell us what the procedures they recommend we adopt for legalizing, or not, the unpermitted murals that are out there. And now I've not seen these particular murals. I have no opinion on them. So it's not about them specifically. It's just about the process. And I think it would make sense to do that.
And Councilmember Brodman, if I might, I will second your request, because I was going to make the same one, and I have been out there to look at them, and I have my own opinions, but I will second your motions or your suggestion. Thank you.
Okay. And then the final thing on vaccines. So I looked at the numbers again. We talked about this a week or two ago. LA County is at 62% of 16 and older having gotten at least one shot. We're about 10 points below that at 52%. And with Seniors, it's even a bigger gap. LA County is at 85% for over 65, and we're at 68%. Now, I know that staff has spoken to people at LA County Department of Public Health, and apparently we're doing everything that everybody else is doing. So it's not anything that we're doing wrong, but there's obviously a problem, and I think we need to do more. And I mentioned this to the city manager already, but I visited my primary care physician the other day. You might know him, Emil Avanis. And he had a great idea, I thought. And he said, you know, if primary care physicians contact their elderly patients, the holdouts, the ones that are still on the fence about getting a shot, and say to them, you know, I'm going to offer you a shot in the office on such and such a day, he felt most of them would come in and do it. And so I was wondering if we could consider figuring out a way to have like special vaccine days at offices of primary care physicians. Maybe we could have, you know, a handful that want to work with us on this. We pick different days, they schedule their patients, and we get to those people that are still on the fence, especially the over 65. We really need to close that gap somehow. So I don't know if the city manager wants to say anything, because we talked about it a little bit, and I think he might have looked into it. But that's something I would suggest we consider doing.
Mr. Galanian?
Yes, Madam Mayor, Member City Council, Councilmember Brotman. After our conversation, I brought it up with staff. They are looking into the logistics of it. In addition to that, we are working with the county and the hospitals in the implementation of mobile clinics that could potentially go to these primary care offices and be able, if there's a sufficient number of patients. So the logistics going to be a little challenging, but we will definitely work with primary care physicians who are willing and able to do this moving forward.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Thank you. Councilmember Najarian?
Thank you. Just a brief update. Last Wednesday at the LA Metro Planning Committee, the North Hollywood to Pasadena BRT was approved, and it is being moved up to the full board. It is scheduled for Thursday. It is going to be on the consent calendar based on the approval, unanimous approval of the Planning Committee. So it's very likely that that project is going to be approved. The excellent news on top of that is that I was able to secure $26 million for bike lane improvements. These are protected bike lanes along Broadway and along Glen Oaks.
Wow.
So that's really good news
That's
for
fantastic.
everyone who likes transit, who's concerned about the environment, who is concerned about exercise, safety, getting out of the car, and being able to bike through the city in a safe and healthy manner.
That's fantastic, Councilmember Najarian. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
From everybody, we're all giving you a
Yeah.
thumbs up here. Good
Yeah,
job.
wow. Wow is all I can
Very
say.
good. Excellent, excellent. Okay, and I wanted to, thank you, I think that's everyone. I wanted to follow up on the light sculpture on display at Central Park. You know, I mentioned last week that I had heard about this installment at our Central Park, and I was going to drive by to see what it looked like. And actually, I was pretty impressed. And last night on the 11 o'clock news on ABC, they had an actual story, and they showed it at night, and it's really quite something. But what I didn't realize was that this is part of a continuation of the Genocide Remembrance Month. And this is an experiential light sculpture called Eternal Armenia. And it is on the green lawn of Central Park. It's an 18-foot circular aluminum truss structure programmed with LED lighting. The ancient Armenian symbol of eternity lights a symbol of eternity, lights up the park like a beacon in the night while attracting astonishment in the daytime. A red solar-lit garden lights symbolic of red poppies in remembrance of the 4,000 perished soldiers from the recent Artsakh War and the bloodshed of 1.5 million in the 1915 genocide. They're also going to be spread over the field at Central Park. So if you have a chance during the evening hours, drive by. It really is extraordinary. And I did see a lot of people were there enjoying the exhibit. I wanted to, in a follow-up to our environmentally conscious efforts here in the city, and I'm sorry, Mr. Galani, and I should have, I did not tell you I was going to ask you this, but I'm really excited about our, we're trying to go electric in our equipment, staff equipment, and this week we had some exciting news from Community Service and Park Department as to the feasibility of using electric carts for the maintenance of our parks. And so, Mr. Galanian, do you want to just kind of let our listeners know what extra steps we're taking to provide electric vehicles in our equipment garage?
Sure. Madam Mayor, members of the council, as you noted, per your request, staff has done a significant amount of research in locating commercially available electric and battery power carts that staff could utilize in our parks. And after the initial research, the park staff had met with Toro, that's one of the manufacturers of these electric and battery-powered carts, and they were able to, on a pilot program for a week, test drive one of these, smaller ones, and they were happy with the range and the weight limit that it can carry. The plan is that they'll work with our fleet services folks when we currently have 12 gas-powered equipment that when the time comes, could be within the next couple of years, so not that far off, to replace these. We will definitely look into replacing them with these electric and battery-powered equipment. That will be 50% of the number of equipment that gas-powered equipment currently use, and the rest as the medium-range, if you will, battery-powered equipment become more commercially available, then we will replace the rest with these. So it is indeed great news and a milestone in towards our environmental and sustainable initiatives.
Great, thank you. Thumbs up? Oh. Okay, I wanted to also make an announcement that action item 8A is being moved to June 8th, if anyone's out there waiting for that item. The next comment that I have is said with great sadness that this weekend, our former director of Glendale Water and Power, Steve Zern, passed away. It was shocking, and everyone is, in dismay over this occurrence. There he is.
There you go. Sorry about that. As soon as I turned on the PowerPoint, it started.
Oh, that's okay, but staff has put together a brief video just honoring Steve Zern. Thank you.
Let me start.
Go ahead, please.
Assistant Director, I am responsible for the day-to-day operations of the division. We have 309 employees and a $70 million budget. city has really evolved tremendously over the last 18 years.
And during that period of time, your department has grown significantly. Now, how many people work for the Public Works?
Approximately 400.
About 400.
Very broad and very diverse, and we got a great group of folks that go out there and do what they do every day. But I think for the most part, those folks that come to Brand will really be happy with the results, and hopefully will encourage new visitors to Brand, and that's kind of what our objective is. We've been very fortunate. You saw the Dunsmuir debris channel. Part of the reason we've been so fortunate is because of the debris basins and the flood control devices that we have here in Glendale. Such a great project. I'm extremely proud of it, but most importantly, I'm proud of the effort and the dedication and hard work by all involved. We take great pride in delivering clean water and reliable electricity to our residents and businesses. Glendale Water and Power, your trusted community utility.
Thank you. Thank you to staff. Just proof that life is fragile. Comments from my colleagues? Councilmember Kasakian?
Still not, doesn't feel real, and since hearing the news, it's been difficult to come to terms with it. You know, Steve was a dedicated, kind person. I know that sometimes he could seem gruff, and he was someone who at times could ruffle feathers, and sometimes that was the role he was asked to play, and some people didn't like him for it, some people liked him for that, but most importantly, I think everyone in the organization always respected him. And he's been taken away from his loved ones and from everyone too soon. It's truly shocking. So my prayers and thoughts go out to his family and his friends and everyone in this organization.
Thank you. Anyone else? Councilmember Najarian?
Yeah, I mean, what more can be said? Such a shocking early loss of Steve. It was just a few months ago. We were saying goodbye to him from our city family. Yeah. He was a really great guy, and I knew him back when he was the assistant director of Public Works. He loved Glendale. He loved the community. He was a really good guy. It's just incredible that we've lost him. So yeah, he's younger than I am. I mean, goodness gracious.
Yeah.
So sad that we lost him at this time.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, he was 59.
Yes.
Councilmember Agajanian.
Mayor Devine?
Okay, all right,
Oh, all right. Councilmember Brotman, I'll take you next, Mr. Agajanian.
no problem.
Yeah, like all of you, I'm still processing this. I saw Steve I don't know, I think it was about 4 weeks ago or 5 weeks ago, he had come up to visit friends in fire department, and I was there doing a ride along, and I just happened to see him there, and we chatted. He looked so happy. He looked like he had lost weight. He was talking about how excited he was to spend time with his grandchildren, and he was talking about, you know, volunteer work he wanted to do with the homeless in Long Beach, which is his, I think, relatively new home. It's just hard to believe a guy who was just on the cusp of you know, the best years in his life, losing that. So I'm incredibly sad. I think most people know that, you know, there was some tension in our relationship early on over the Grayson repowering, but we got to know each other after I joined council better, and we had some good sit downs. We had some good, when he said he was leaving, we had a really nice coffee together and just learned more about one another and realized that we actually have a lot in common. And I realized that everything he did with the sense that it was the best thing for Glendale, and that it was really the wisest decision. And although we didn't always agree on that, I know he came from a great place. So I'm just really, really sad to lose somebody who I had looked forward to being able to reach out to and continue to learn from. So what else can I say?
Councilmember Okajanian.
Yeah, I know Steve for such a long time, even before I start TV station, and I was running a TV station, and since the very beginning, Steve, I think he was at that time, 20-some years ago, he was Assistant Public Works Director. And then afterward, he became Public Work Director. And afterward, Director of GWP. Continuously, I have interviewed him, and he was all the time willing to come on the program and explain what's going on in this city. And he was open, and I mean, I really am sorry to see a man in 59, as has been mentioned, only 59 years old, to leave us this soon, because he had long time ahead of him, and this is such a sad news for Glendale and us, as somebody whom closely I worked with, and I have been in touch with him, as I said, willing to come and explain on TV what he was doing. That was, you know, he was a busy man, and he was not living in Glendale, and it makes it harder to come at 9 p.m. for an interview or stay here until 9 p.m. to explain what he's doing in this city. So I'm very sad for his passing. Thank you.
I'd like to ask staff if any of you would like to make a comment. I know it would be difficult, but Mr. Galani.
Madam Mayor, it's the entire Glendale family is heartbroken, in my opinion. Steve was a great friend. I worked with him for 20 years. And he was a consummate team player, a dedicated professional. He gave so much for the city whenever it was needed. We had a late retirement party for him on the 15th of May. I'm just glad that we managed to do that and honor his legacy. Like Councilmember Brotman mentioned, he looked great. He looked relaxed and happy, had all these plans for the future. Newly married, less than 5 months. It's just devastating. But his memory will live in our hearts and minds forever. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, with that being, Mr. Galani, you shouldn't have done that. Got me started. I just want to say that he really had the city of, the best intentions for the city of Glendale. Grayson was his pet project. I'm sorry he will not see the completion of that, because I know he would have loved that. And he is missed. I know staff misses him and his family, et cetera. So with that, we will be adjourning tonight's meeting in memory of Steve Zern. Thank you. And what's next, please?
Mayor, next would be community event announcement, 3-minute portion. I do have 5 callers on the line.
Okay, thank you. Let's start. Thank you.
Sharon Townsend. Sharon, you have 3 minutes. Go ahead.
Hi, thank you very much. Mayor Devine, City Council, and staff, it's a privilege to be here tonight, even if it's remotely on a cell phone. But I'm here as a member of Glendale Sunrise Rotary, along with my co-chair, Denise Miller, and along with our president of our club, Glendale Sunrise, Mike Shar. And we are so excited because this morning we gathered with members on their free time from the fire department and police department to plant 1,000 flags at Forest Lawn. And we have brought back the flag of honor and gratitude. And I just encourage you to visit because you'll be really touched. The Field of Honor is a tribute and a reminder of the sacrifices made by our fellow citizens, including active duty military, veterans, law enforcement, and firefighters, so that we can continue to enjoy the freedom and safety here at home. We will be having a program on Monday at 11 o'clock. Mayor Devine will be part of that program. I invite you to attend. And meanwhile, you can go to our website, glendalefieldofhonor.com, if you'd like to purchase a flag and honor someone in memory of their service. And thank you. And I, too, share my grief and dismay at the loss of Steve, because he was a friend, too. But we will honor him during this service as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharon. If you've never seen the Field of Honor at Forest Lawn, you must go. You must see it. It is spectacular to see. And as she said, they put the flags up, I guess, today, and they'll be there for at least a week. But it's absolutely phenomenal to see. Okay, next caller.
Mike Gomez, you're live. You have 3 minutes. Go ahead.
Yes, good evening, good evening, Madam Chair, City Council members, and staff. My name is Mike Gomez. I have a comment on vaccines. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, my comment on the vaccine. Why are we as politicians so willing to give medical advice that we ourselves don't even know? These vaccines have not been approved by the FDA, and these vaccines are experimental vaccines with no knowledge of their long-term effects, because there is no data on long-term effects. If you go into the very own ED's website, Paul EAERS, you can see statistical data on just how many people have died and how many thousands have been injured by these vaccines. So I question the wisdom and the common sense of giving these vaccines to children. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Tara Peterson. Tara, you're live. You have 3 minutes. Go ahead.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. This is Tara Peterson, CEO of the YWCA Glendale and Pasadena. I just want to take a moment to thank the mayor and city council members who joined us for our first annual Peace Walk to observe Martin Luther King and bring the city together for unity and peace. Today, May 25th, we observe the one-year commemoration of the death of George Floyd and the racial reckoning that took place across the country and in our own city. It was also just under a year ago, close to 2,000 people took to the streets to declare that Black Lives Matter and to demand an end to police brutality. Thank you so much for Dan and Artie for lifting up his name and also reminding the council of their commitments made over this last year and have not yet followed through on. We have come a long way in naming our city's history of racism and acknowledging the harm of its legacy today, but we have not made any progress in making real investment in the resources needed to make the structural changes needed to move our city on a path to true anti-racism and justice. When the Coalition for an Anti-Racist Glendale brought forward the historic Sundown Resolution last September, we were only aware of a fraction of Glendale's history of racism. The city's report illuminated an extensive history of redlining and racially exclusionary practices, and the library's Reckoning Race and Resistance in Glendale provided the community with a visual narrative for understanding our history. And yet, with only knowing what we knew on September 15th, we passed a historic resolution. All Sundown Town resolutions contain 3 elements: acknowledge the history, apologize for the harm done, and atone for its harm. We have become better at acknowledging and apologizing and coming together as a community, but more work needs to be done to atone for it. Today, I would like to remind the city of its commitment to participate in the Government Alliance of Race and Equity. How have you been participating? How has your participation impacted the city's practices, policies, and budget? Where is the action plan that has been delivered, that was to be delivered as a result of the city's participation? What resources have you invested in diversity, equity, inclusion? What policies have been reformed to lift up DEI in your institutions? This cannot just rely on the shoulders of one staff person. Christine is amazing. We look forward to working with her, but it really requires leadership from the top. So as other cities have hired equity managers and reduced their police budgets to provide more community service, Glendale has not made such a hire. What is the status of the police department's commitment to present to the council on the review of policy recommendations made by former Attorney General Javier Becerra on policing? How does the city plan to move from statements of proclamations to systemic changes that ensure every resident and visitor is safe and respected in Glendale? On this 1-year anniversary of the murder of George Floyd, our Coalition for an Anti-Racist Glendale demands that the city move from declarations to action to address its history of racism and to build a truly equitable Glendale. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Next.
Todd Leonard, you have 3 minutes. Go ahead. Todd? Mr. Leonard? Todd Leonard? Mr. Leonard? Tony Passarella, you have 3 minutes. Go ahead, Tony.
Hi, Mayor, staff, and council members, and especially the viewing public. Well, I tell you, you people have really gone off the rails. You want to fine merchants, what was it, up to $2,000 or $1,000, whatever it is, to keep flavored tobacco predominantly out of the hands of children. But yet, Fire Chief Lanzas wants to jab 12-year-olds with a synthetic, experimental, unproven, untested vaccine. Boy, that's something. Let me give you some facts. Arm, would you put those photos up there? By the way, there's 0 patients right now in
Do we need to put a disclaimer, excuse me, do we need to put a disclaimer that these photos may be difficult to take?
Exactly.
I'm just.
Yeah, put it up there. They're very hard to watch.
Well, I'm thinking maybe we shouldn't watch them.
No, I think we should.
Okay.
By the way, there's 0 patients right now in the USC Verdugo Hospital. 0, and it's been like that for weeks. This thing has been gone for weeks. And you guys want to shoot up 12-year-olds with an unproven, untested vaccine? Let me give you some of the side effects here. Arm, anytime, please. General side effects, fatigue, headache, muscle pain, joint pain, chills, nausea, vomiting, fever. More severe reactions, difficulty breathing, swelling of the face and throat, a fast heartbeat, a bad rash all over the body. Please put up that photo. That's the bad rash all over the body. Dizziness and weakness. These may not be all the side effects, the serious unexpected side effects from the Pfizer vaccine, or any of the vaccines for that matter. Here's some more. Bell's palsy. And this can all be verified, people. And people at home, please Don't believe everything I'm telling you. Do your research. Do as Mike Gomez said. Go to the VAR system, the CDC VAR system, and look at all of the deaths recorded, all of the, you can stay there for hours to see all the adverse reactions. Hours, it's endless. Please, people in Glendale, before you take your children up to that VAC clinic, and pretty soon, Mr. Lanz is going to come out and announce to get your 5-year-olds up there. This is ridiculous. Bell's palsy, paralysis, blindness, convulsions, blood clots, miscarriages, strokes, heart attacks, delusions. I already said vomiting. Spitting up blood, severe rashes. I already said that. Well, what do you know? Is this a coincidence? Baseball player Hank Aaron dies after receiving COVID back. What a coincidence. Pro boxer Marvin Hagler dead after receiving the COVID vaccine. Oh my God, what a coincidence. Musician Eric Clapton announced he was paralyzed for weeks on
Tony,
one
thank you.
side.
3 minutes. Tony.
Thank you, Tony.
Thank
Your
you,
time
Tony.
is up.
Okay, I'll
Thank
see
you.
you next week. I'll see you next week. I want to close that thing down, not increase the numbers.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Tony.
Mr. Passerella.
Thank you, Mr. Passerella. Thank you. Next caller.
Todd Leonard. Todd, you're live. Todd? Mr. Leonard? Todd Leonard? Mr. Leonard, you're live. You have 3 minutes.
No? Nothing?
Nothing.
Is there another caller? Is he the last?
Correct.
Okay, well, let's move on. Okay? All right. Sorry, Mr. Leonard, we were unable to connect with you. All right, what's the next item?
Next item is 7, adoption of ordinance. City Attorney regarding an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Glendale, California, amending Title II of the Glendale Municipal Code, 1995, by deleting Chapter 2.34, adding Section 2.08.040 and 2.38.130, and amending Sections 2.08.130 and 2.82.120 pertaining to innovation, performance, and audit functions. This was brought up by Councilmember Najarian on May 18th, 2021.
Thank you. Mr. Galanian?
Yes, Madam Mayor, Member City Council, this is pertaining to the separation of innovation, performance, and audit functions, as it was reported last week, and the establishment of a Chief Innovation Officer's position. Mr. Najarian, Councilmember Najarian, just lost connectivity. He's going to try and reconnect with us momentarily.
Okay, all right. We're waiting for Councilmember Najarian because he moved this item and would like for him to move it tonight as well. Shall we move on or shall we wait? We'll move on? Okay, do I have a motion for the adoption of this ordinance?
I'll move it.
A second?
Giving credit, of course, to
To
Councilmember
Councilmember
Najarian.
Right.
Is there a second?
Second? I'll second it.
Well,
Sorry, second.
okay. thank you.
Councilmember Brotman, did you second it?
Yes, I seconded it.
Okay, roll call?
Councilmember Agajanian?
Yes.
Brotman?
Yes.
Kasakian?
Yes.
Najarian? And Mayor Devine.
Yes. And as mentioned, thank you. And as mentioned before, 8A has been moved to June 8th. What's next, please?
Next would be 8B, Fire Department regarding disposition of 1 fire engine and 1 ambulance, 1 resolution authorizing the donation transfer of 1 fire engine and 1 ambulance to a location of City Council's choice.
Mr. Galanian?
Yes, Madam Mayor, Member City Council, this item is before you in response to a request from council previously for the donation of fire engine and 1 ambulance now. And Chief Lanzas will provide a report and seek direction as to the location of where we'd like these 2 equipment to be donated to.
Mayor, before we go on, sorry, Chief, Councilmember Najarian is on with his cell phone. I like to make sure he can hear us.
Okay. All right,
Councilmember
check.
Najarian, can you hear us? Okay. 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 Chief, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No problem, Aram. Thank you. Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of council. Silvio Alonso, your fire chief. I'm before you this evening to seek direction on the desired disposition of 2 fire apparatuses currently operating within the Glendale Fire Department. These 2 apparatuses are a 2000 Pierce fire engine and a 2006 Ford E450 fire ambulance. Both of these apparatus have reached their end-of-life service with our organization and have been fully depreciated. While these apparatus do not have a service value to our city, we feel that consideration of donating these apparatuses to a location of the City Council's desire may fulfill a critical firefighting and emergency services need to a lesser privileged area. Upon receiving direction from the City Council, staff will work on the details of delivering or shipping both or either apparatus to a location of your desire. And with that, I'm available for questions, and we seek direction from you and your council.
Thank you, thank you. Any of my colleagues, I would like to, first of all, mention that the Consul General of Armenia has expressed interest on behalf of the government of Armenia in receiving this ambulance as a donation to use in affected areas of Armenia to assist its vulnerable refugee population. The plan is to ship it to the ambulance to Yerevan and then on to one of the border cities that are in dire need. Both the Ministry of Health and the Ministry of Emergency Situations would be able to receive and deploy the ambulance. The Consul General is working on determining if they can find a shipping container large enough to house the ambulance and have it shipped to Armenia. I'm just suggesting this as a possibility. I know that you're not asking for us to definitely give you, a destination. However, we want to make sure that the Armenian Consul General is heard and that they have first dibs on the ambulance. There any comments from my council member?
I would like to see if these apparatus to go to Armenia. As you know, during the 45 days of war, there were 5,000, as has been mentioned here, people died as a result of the war and thousands injured. So I think at this time, the best place to send it will be Armenia. So if it's possible, I would like to join Mayor Devine to send these units to Armenia.
Right. And I want to make it clear that so far, the Consul General has only expressed the wishes for the ambulance because of the size of the fire engine is too large to ship. So what the chief would like is another suggestion, if we have it, if any of my colleagues have a suggestion as to where we can send the equipment.
Mayor, I'd like to ask,
Councilmember Kasakian.
normally with surplus equipment like this, once it's run its course, what happens to it? Is it stripped down? Is it taken to some fire engine graveyard?
Madam Mayor, members of council, Councilmember Kasakian, normally for our apparatus, once they've reached their end of service life and have gone through 10 years frontline, 10 years reserve, they go through auction. So we put them in auction like we do most of our other city apparatus, or city vehicles, I should say.
And in terms of the average, I know it varies depending on wear and tear, but and what do you receive on an item like that? Is it any?
A fire engine it's really basically scrap metal at these points. They're not worth much at all.
Got it. However, this equipment still has some life in it if we can find someone who would be able to use it, correct?
Indeed.
Okay. There is a program that, in talking about the Republic of Armenia, and I'm fine with sending them, given everything that the country has gone through and that we already have a relationship, and there's a precedence for having sending over equipment. The Kansas State National Guard has a long-standing program with the Republic of Armenia. That this was something that was started when Republican Senator Bob Dole, who represent Kansas in the U.S. Senate, established this cooperative agreement And members of National Guard go to Armenia specifically to train counterparts there on emergency services, particularly responding to massive natural disasters. And if you can do some research and outreach, perhaps through our member of Congress, and find out what that program entails and offer it up to them, it may be something that they may be able to take over there and transport for us. It could be something that helps. In the absence of that, I don't know where else we could. I don't know if any other sister city or any other organizations would want it. I'm certainly, obviously, I'd be okay with the ambulance
Well,
being transported to Armenia as well.
Yeah, well, the other suggestion was from council member and former mayor Quintero when he was on council and we discussed other donations, and he mentioned that we could send to perhaps our sister cities in Mexico, Rosarito Beach, Rosarita, and I want to say Tlaquepaque, but
Madam
that's
Mayor?
not right, is it? Is it?
Tlaquepaque, yeah, that's
Because
it.
I've been there, I know, okay, good. So that's another suggestion that we can, and that way, even with the fire engine, that we could just drive it down there, couldn't we? But it's a,
I'd be happy to.
yeah. I want to go with, that's my
Just come
ride
back.
along. That's my ride along, okay? No, sorry, I get first dibs. But those are some suggestions. Do my fellow councilors,
Mayor.
Councilmember Najarian?
Thank you. I'm back on. Sorry, I was gone for a
Okay,
little while.
yeah, good.
So I was part of council in 2007 when we did donate a fire engine to our sister city of Rosarito Beach, and it was very well received. Of course, it was driven down there, so transportation was not a problem. In 2015. Chief Fish, through the decision of the city council, donated a ambulance to Armenia, and it was well refurbished, retrofitted. The only difficulty is it cost about $20,000 to ship it to Armenia, and that was an expense that medical organization that my family is involved with paid for. A few years later, there was a full fire engine, which was sent. Councilmember Garpetian, I believe, was involved in that. That was $40,000 to ship to Armenia. They're not so keen on those fire engines because they do have special fittings for the hoses and the hydrants and all that, which are not compatible with the ones that we have, and they're a little bit wide and large for use out there. I would fully support the ambulance going to Armenia, realizing that we're going to have to raise money, and warning the council members that if you approach a group and encourage them to make a donation to this cause that you're advocating for, you have to report that on your forms, your FPPC forms. And they cannot be made anonymous. No one can make an anonymous donation to a charity of your own choosing. I wouldn't object to offering the fire engine to Rosarito Beach again. So it's been 14 years since we last gave them one. And I think we sent turnouts and other firefighting equipment as well. We haven't been in very close contact with them for some time, especially since Evren, I forgot his name.
Olivares. Efrain Olivares.
Efrain Olivares has left the city. But, you know, I'm whoever, if there's money to send it to Armenia, that's great. But if not, I think the easy donation would be to Rosarito Beach for the fire engine.
Right.
And we can plan a trip down there as well, because that's how we did it last time with council and so forth. So that might be something to look forward to if it becomes a reality. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Najarian. I believe they have a an approximate price for shipping the ambulance, and it's like around $5,000. So that makes it a lot easier and more economical, and it just works better. So they'll be very
How
happy to
good
hear
that is.
that.
A regular container is 7,000, and this doesn't fit in a regular container, so like the double price plus
Yeah.
other extras puts it close to 20,000.
Yes.
But regardless, if someone can help us raise that money, or wants to incur the cost, that would be great. I would fully
Sure.
support that.
Okay. So, Chief, do you have direction then on this donation?
Yes, Madam Mayor, members of council, I just want to make sure that I understand completely. We will work with the Consul General to try to get the ambulance shipped to Armenia and work with Rosarito Beach as the primary location for the fire engine. Can I just ask if for some reason Rosarito doesn't want it, we could work with the other sister city of Mexico to try to get the engine down there? Is that amendable or agreeable to
That's
the council?
Tlaquepaque. That's a suburb of Guadalajara.
Yeah,
So it's
so-
a little bit, we do
Farther.
have connections there, actually, but
Yeah.
we can inquire. I can inquire and get back to you, Chief, and you can
Okay.
see if that makes sense.
All right. Okay. So do we need a motion on this item?
Yes, Madam Mayor.
To-
To have the ambulance go to Republic of Armenia through the Consul General, and then the fire engine to Rosarito.
Or
Tlaquepaque.
city that needs it, one of
So
our sister
I
cities?
will move the item.
Yes. Second? Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Roll call?
Councilmember Agajanian.
Yes.
Brotman.
Yes.
Kasakian.
Yes.
Najarian.
Yes.
And Mayor Devine.
Yes.
Thank
Thank you. Thank you, Chief. Thank you, Chief. Next item?
Management services regarding legislative follow-up. Motion to support Assembly Bill 43, traffic safety.
Mr. Galanian?
Yeah, Madam Mayor, Member City Council, at your May 4th meeting, Ms. Powers provided an update, and our consultant an update on all the legislative bills. There were two bills that council asked Ms. Powers to follow up on, and that's what she's here, and I'll just turn it over to Ms. Power, Senior Executive Analyst.
Ms. Powers?
Good evening, Mayor Devine, council members. So earlier this month, you all received a legislative update and had requested to have a follow-up item to consider supporting Assembly Bill 43, authored by Assemblymember Laura Friedman, regarding setting speed limits to enhance traffic safety. And council also returned in that same report, AB 367, to the Commission on the Status of Women for their reconsideration. AB 43 would grant the California Department of Transportation and local authorities greater flexibility in setting speed limits based on recommendations that came out of the Zero Traffic Fatality Task Force in January 2020. It would authorize local authorities by resolution or ordinance to lower speed limits by 5 miles per hour below the findings of the Traffic and Engineering Survey if the portion of the street is considered a high injury street, or if it's adjacent to land that generates a high concentration of bicyclists, pedestrians, and such. It would also allow local authorities to retain existing speed limit surveys that had been done previously if the street hasn't been changed significantly. It would authorize lower speed limits in business districts and expand which streets are eligible for school zone speed limits. And it would also allow us to extend the period of time that an existing speed survey can be used before having to conduct another one. And as you know, when we do speed limit surveys, usually the speed limit ends up going up as a result. So this allows us to extend current ones. Staff from the Police and Public Works Departments have reviewed AB 43 and recommend supporting this bill. It's in line with Council's adopted legislative platform. It promotes community safety. At this time, the bill has passed through the Assembly and is currently in Senate Transportation Committee awaiting a hearing date. As far as the Commission on the Status of Women, in the most recent legislative update presented to City Council, AB 367, authored by Assemblymember Cristina Garcia, that would enact the Menstrual Equity Act of 2021, was recommended to Council, and this would require public schools, colleges, and public agencies to stock school restrooms with free menstrual products. From the time that the Commission recommended this legislation to Council, there were significant amendments that were made to the bill, and as such, Council recommended returning the bill to the Commission. The Commission, at their last meeting earlier this month, recommended to discontinue support and remain neutral on the bill. They did at that meeting also recommend 3 additional bills to council that are presented in this report. The first one is AB 378, which would eliminate gendered terms from various provisions of the California Code that refer to elected officials and replace them with non-gendered terms. And this is just an attempt to update the state's law to be more accurate and inclusive. This is currently in the Senate Judiciary Committee. AB 925, that has to do with sexual assault forensic examination reimbursements, would increase the availability and affordability of such examinations for victims of sexual assault. Sexual violence has actually been on the rise over the past year, and this bill seeks to support services for sexual assault victims in light of the budget surplus, and it would allocate $6.7 million annually from the general fund to provide full reimbursement to local law enforcement agencies, and that would include the Glendale Police Department as we pay for some of these examinations. And that bill is currently on the assembly floor. And finally, there's AB 1287, that has to do with price discrimination, known as the pink tax. It would remove price-based gender discrimination so that products that are marketed to women aren't set arbitrarily higher, and it would impose civil penalties for such violations. That bill actually has become a 2-year bill, meaning it won't be heard this year. It could be taken up next year, but since the time that the commission recommended the bill, it has become a 2-year bill. And that concludes the report. If there's any questions, thank you.
Thank you. Any questions from my colleagues? Do we have a motion? Oh, Councilmember
I have a
Blackman?
question. Yeah, Christine, thanks for this report. AB 550, which we supported and we're hoping would give us an opportunity to implement, automated traffic enforcement. Yeah, I know that died in, I guess, in Assembly Appropriations, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
And hoping, and I don't know if you got any more information from our lobbyists as to what happened to that bill, but you're shaking your head, so I guess you didn't. I wanted to suggest that we make a formal request of this council to Laura Friedman and Anthony Portantino, either one of them, to carry similar legislation in the next session so that we can have another go at this. I think it's really something that is important and should be piloted in some places around California, and I think we all agreed that Glendale would be a good place to pilot this. So that's what I would like to say, and then if a motion is needed to provide an endorsement for AB 43, I'm happy to do that as well.
So would you like to make the motion for alternative number 1? AB 43, and support the recommended legislation of the Commission on the Status of Women?
Sure, I'll make that motion.
Okay. I wanted to say before I get a second on that one, that it was disappointing to hear that the bill for the automation traffic signaling did not get past the appropriations. That was something I think we were all looking forward to and very excited about, and it's disappointing. Okay, is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Agajanian?
Yes.
Brotman?
Yes.
Kasakian?
Yes.
Najarian?
Yes.
And Mayor Devine.
Yes, thank you. Next item.
Next item is 8D, Police Department regarding request regarding the acceptance of grant funding from the United States Department of Homeland Security 2020 Urban Area Security Initiatives Grant Program. One, resolution to accept grant funds in the amount of $1,082,627 and authorize the city manager or his designee to execute an agreement with the City of Los Angeles for the award of funds under fiscal year 20 UASI grant program. 2 would be resolution to dispense with competitive bidding and authorize the Deputy Director of Finance purchasing to issue a purchase order with Flock Safety for the procurement of automatic license plate reader equipment in the amount not to exceed $97,200. 3, resolution to appropriate $1,082,627 from the Urban Area Security Initiatives Grant Program.
Thank you. Mr. Galanian?
Yes, Madam Mayor, Member City Council, I'm just going to go directly to Chief Pavlidis for the report.
Good evening, Mayor Devine, members of City Council, Carl Pavlidis, Police Chief. I've come before you this evening to respectfully request that you accept $1,082,627 in Urban Area Strategic Initiative grant funds. These funds are really to help 3 of the organizations within the city of Glendale. First of all, there's $646,000 that go to the fire department, of which $427,000 is to procure urban search and rescue equipment, detection equipment for both chemical and radiological devices, and then $219,000 in training for hazmat and urban search and rescue. Another $216,525 is for the Information Services Department to support our ICI radio system with the repeater up at Oak Mountain to make improvements up there. I believe that's to take it from 4 to 6 repeaters up there and improve access for day-to-day and emergency communications. And then finally, within the police department, there's $220,000, of which $95,000 is actually something that will be in partnership with the Information Services Department to do a complete assessment on our city computer infrastructure for vulnerabilities, $200,000 to expand our existing program on license plate readers, and then some money for PPE, for personal protective equipment for one of our specialized details, some first aid kits that we use throughout the field, and some security training for our computer forensics folks to make us more effective at detecting people who would hack into larger systems and finding the traces and being able to do the criminal investigations on that behalf. I will try and keep this brief, and so with that, I am happy to answer any questions, and Chief Lonzis and Chief Information Officer Jason Bradford are also here to answer any questions.
Okay, questions?
I would like to move the item.
Okay, and I have a Councilmember Brotman or Najarian, anything?
No question from me, thank you.
Okay, that was the one, the flock safety. That's an interesting one. You take that, it will enable you to take pictures of license plates, but it's used for a national database in case there's a crime that was committed some other state and you get the car.
It does 2 things. So it reads the license plate. One of the things it does immediately is that it compares it against what I'll call a hot sheet or the database. So whether that's national or local. So for example, if the car is stolen and it reads the plate on a stolen car, it will let us know, and it will let dispatch know, and we'll dispatch officers to it. We started experimenting with this program a little while ago. Since October of last year, we have had 21 significant hits that have resulted in 17 arrests. And in fact, this afternoon, as I was putting my notes together for this, we had 2 hits within 10 minutes where we were dispatching officers, one of which resulted in an arrest. So we're looking forward to using this program in conjunction with our crime analysis, because this is one of the things that's helping us combat our current increase in auto theft.
Yeah, yeah. Boy, don't come to Glendale. That should be the message that this reads, right? Okay. Yeah.
Absolutely correct, Your Honor.
Righto, righto. Okay, we have a motion. And
Yes. And but before I
Okay.
continue on motion,
Okay.
since you asked
Okay.
questions from Chief, I will take the chance and ask him, because he explained to me, of course, we went through this before. Chief, I just wanted, for the benefit of the public who are watching us, could you tell us, we do not have, to confirm, we do not have any camera which is recording anything. Those cameras we have in the city, they do not record anything, right?
Mayor Devine, members of council, Councilmember Agajanian, so let me just be clear. So these cameras will record license plates like the ones that are on the cars. If what you're referring to is the cameras that most people see on the mast arms, on the signal lights, those in essence are what I like to call virtual loop detectors. They've replaced the wire loops in the ground to detect cars. And although they are video cameras, they will, when they see the car, they determine which cycle of the light to run. We do not record those.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
I'll second that motion.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Agajanian,
Yes.
Brotman,
Yes.
Kasakian,
Yes.
Najarian,
Yes.
and Mayor Devine.
Yes, thank you, Chief. Next item, please.
9 would be hearing city attorney regarding public hearing on modifications of the Greater Downtown Glendale Community Benefit District Management District Plan to exclude a certain parcel located at 1000 North Central Avenue therefrom. 1, resolution removing a certain parcel located at 1000 North Central, Glendale, California, APN 5644-012-036 from the Greater Downtown Glendale Community Benefit District boundaries.
Thank you. This is a public hearing, so I will open the public hearing. And Mr. Galanian.
Yes, Madam Mayor, Member City Council, we're going to go directly to Jillian Van Moyden, our Chief Assistant City Attorney, who is on the WebEx to provide the report for you.
Excuse me, Madam Mayor. We went through this before.
Mr. City Manager, I'm sorry, Councilmember Agajanian?
Yes,
Yeah.
he has a
I said-
question
I just want to
first.
say, we went through this before, I guess, and is there any way I can move the item?
If the council would desire not to
Second.
have a presentation, we can skip as long as there are no
I heard us-
callers. Do we have any callers?
Do we have
There
any-
are no callers in my queue. I'm going to double check downstairs
And we
at
have a
this time.
second from Councilmember
Well, yeah,
Najarian.
close the hearing first, Madam Mayor.
Okay, we'll close the hearing. We have a motion.
Yes.
We have a motion
I
from
move
Councilmember
Move the
Agajanian.
item, and a second from Councilmember Najarian. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Agajanian,
Yes.
Brotman,
Yes.
Kasakian,
Yes.
Najarian,
Yes.
Mayor Devine.
Yes. Thank you. Next item.
Oral communications. Discussion is limited to items not a part of this agenda. Council may question or respond to the speaker, but there will be no debate or decision. The city manager may refer the matter to the appropriate department for investigation and report. There are no callers for this one either, this item either.
Wow, okay then. And what's the next item?
Any new business?
No new business. Next item is adjournment, and we will adjourn in memory of Steve Zern. May you rest in peace.
May you rest in peace.
Do I have a-
Second.
We are adjourned at 7:35. Thank you all.
Thank you.